What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of K-Cards Baseball. Thanks for joining me tonight on this wonderful Wednesday evening, wherever you might be. Tonight being Wednesday, it is in fact Vintage Card Wednesday. We are going to be getting into this stack of 1973 Topps cards that I will be auctioning off and selling on the Vintage Baseball Card site on Facebook. If you aren't currently a member of the Vintage Card site on Facebook, I would strongly encourage you to go to that particular page on Facebook and join the group. You will be asked a couple of basic questions about vintage cards, and if you know a little bit, just basic elementary questions, you will be allowed to go ahead and join the group and start buying from there. There's always really cool auctions going on at any given time. The Vintage Baseball Card site currently has about 52,000 members, so there always is something really good going on. The beauty of buying cards on the Vintage Card site is that you don't have to pay any buyer or seller fees. So as a seller, the nice part about it is you get basically the cards without the upcharge of having to pay 13% to eBay or whatever the situation is. And as a buyer, you are dealing directly with the seller. You aren't going through eBay and that type of thing. And I will tell you that I have been selling cards on there, as you guys probably know, for quite some time. And I've only had probably, I want to guess, less than 5 transactions go bad on me. So it is a really good ratio, and most of the people on there are really good guys and are strongly interested in vintage cards. So I would strongly encourage you, if you're not a member, to go ahead and join that particular site and at least take a look at it and see what they have. Anyways, let's get into these 1973 Topps cards. I'm going to go through each one and discuss the condition of each particular card. I will say that 1973 was a really tough year for baseball cards because miscutting was definitely a thing in 1973. As you can see on this Don Sutton card, there was on the sheet basically a San Francisco Giants pitcher on the top of the sheet, basically up here, and when they cut it, they miscut the card. Maybe it was Juan Marichal, if I had to guess, someone like that possibly, but who knows. Again, like I said, a lot of these cards are going to be miscut. It is really difficult to get a 1973 Topps card in better than near mint to mint condition. Most are going to be in that excellent to excellent plus condition or grade, because if they don't have any creases on them anyways, and if any of these cards do have creases, I will let you guys know. I will also toss out the basic disclaimer is that none of these cards are going to be in sleeves. As I say all the time when I'm doing an auction preview, there are quite a few people that let me complain to me about the condition I treat these cards or how I treat these cards, but believe me, I do take care of these cards very well. I don't have them in sleeves when I do the auction previews or when I take pictures of them and post them on Facebook, because quite often the sleeves, if you have them in a penny sleeve or a top loader, a lot of those are going to have scratches on them, and sometimes those scratches can be confused as being actual scratches on the card when in fact they aren't. So I do display the cards and show these cards to you on videos in their basic raw form. After I do make this video and take the photos of them and get them ready for auction, I do put them back in sleeves at that point to protect the cards. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into them. So first up tonight is Don Sutton. You guys can see on this particular card compared to this Don Sutton card, this card has some ink issues in the clouds. You can see they are slightly pink, whereas this one is a little bit better as far as that goes. Even though this card is miscut worse than this card, the condition is probably going to be very comparable. I'd probably put them in very good to excellent condition, maybe about a 4. There's no creases on either one of the card, and there isn't any significant print flaws other than the fact that on this card it is severely miscut. The centering on this card is going to be 70-30, same as this one. Top to bottom of this card is going to be 90-10, and you can see what the top to bottom is on this card. So both of these cards are going to sell for $1.50. So that is a really good price for a Hall of Famer, Don Sutton. Next up, we've got three, count them three, of the 1972 strikeout leaders. Actually, we have four. I thought we only had three. So this one features two Hall of Famers, Steve Carlton and the legendary Nolan Ryan. So that is why I have this card up for sale. The cut on this card actually isn't that bad on any of these cards. This one is probably the worst, or this one. But these two cards are actually cut fairly well. There isn't any creases on any of the cards, and these cards are going to be going up for sale for $3 a piece, which isn't a bad price at all, being that you get two Hall of Famers on the card. And both of them are pretty early. Well, not so much Steve Carlton, but Nolan Ryan was still pretty early in his career in 1973. So that is that card. The backs of these cards are generally going to be in pretty good shape. You can see this one is kind of miscut. There isn't any right-hand edges. It's all on the left, so it is slightly miscut there. But the rest of these cards are in pretty decent shape. So again, each one of these cards is going to sell for $3. So that is the Nolan Ryan and Steve Carlton card. Next up, we got Tony Oliva. This one I've got in excellent 5 condition. There is a slight flaw up here in the upper left, but other than that, the card is in pretty good shape. The centering on it is actually really good. Top to bottom, left to right, is probably 70-30. The back is in really good condition other than the miscut issue there. The corners are pretty decent. There is a slight ding in the upper left-hand corner. So I do have this Tony Oliva Hall of Famer card for sale for $3 as well. Next up, we got Rollie Fingers. And this card is going to be miscut, obviously, on top. It is like 95.5. The centering left to right isn't too bad, and the back is in pretty decent shape other than, again, the miscut issue. So I've got this one in very good to excellent condition, and I am selling it for $2 on the Rollie Fingers card. Next up is Ted Simmons, and I think we have 2 Ted Simmons cards. You can see this card might be a little bit better than this card. This one does have a crease going from right to the left-hand edge. There aren't any creases on this card, so this card is going to be selling for $1, and this card is going to be selling for $3 because of the fact that it doesn't have any creases. Both the backs are in decent shape other than the miscut there on that the crease card, the less expensive card, but they are still pretty decent Ted Simmons third-year cards. Next up, we got Frank Robinson, and this particular Frank Robinson, as you can see, is going to be, let me see here, let me pull it up, is going to be at $4. Obviously you can see how badly miscut it is on the left to right and also top to bottom. It is just a rough card, but it's still Hall of Famer Frank Robinson, one of the best baseball players to ever play the game. The back is actually not bad either than the miscut on the bottom and also on the top. So again, I have this one listed at $4, but I'll probably have to reduce it down because of how badly miscut it is. So I'll probably pop it out there for $2 on that card. Next up, we got Ron Santo. We actually have, I think, 4 Ron Santo cards, and none of them are in too bad a condition. None of them have any creases on them that I can see, any sort of visible creases. The cut on them actually isn't too terribly bad. Anyway, sorry about that. I had a cough. Anyways, again, the cut on isn't too bad on these Ron Santo cards. This one right here, I'd probably consider it 80-20. It is slightly diagonally cut or miscut as far as the angle of it. It isn't exactly straight up and down. Same as this card, you can see the top is a little bit fatter than the bottom of the card is. And this one is the exact opposite, where the top is a little bit thinner than the bottom is. So I am selling these cards basically for $2 a piece. This one isn't too bad, actually. And again, it is going to be miscut over here on this edge. And this card is probably the best of the bunch. It is pretty decently centered. Probably, I would still consider it 85-15 left to right. Top to bottom, I would probably say 90-10. And it is missing most of the bottom. But again, getting this card at $2 isn't too bad of a price. Lou Piniella. We have 2 Lou Piniella cards, I believe. And this one right here will be selling for $2. It is slightly more miscut than what this one is. This one also has a little bit better color than what this one does. So this one will be at $2 and this one will be at $3. The back of the cards are in pretty good shape, and the corners are in pretty good shape as well. Overall, not bad Lou Piniella cards for the price. Again, $2 and $3 for the Lou Piniella. Next up is Thurman Munson. And again, you can see how badly miscut this is. It doesn't have any top or basically any right side. I'd probably say 98.2 on the left or right. It is showing part of the next card here on the bottom. So that is why I have this card at $3 on the Thurman Munson card. A great catcher and definitely the captain. Died tragically in a plane crash. But anyways, definitely a decent card to have, even though it is a miscut card. Bobby Bonds. I think we have 3 Bobby Bonds cards. And 2 of them, these 2, are going to be slightly miscut. This one obviously more so than this one. You can see part of the next card over here. And this side is basically cut off. This side isn't as cut off as bad. So I have this one at $2, this one at $3, and this one at $5. Because that one is actually showing an edge on both the left and the right side. So anyways, that is the Bobby Bonds cards. The backs are all in really good condition. So this one, like I said, is going to be at $5 because it does have a top. The centering actually left to right isn't too bad, and is actually showing the whole picture there of what you get in 73. Both of these other ones are cut off there on the side, so you won't be seeing this full picture with the green guy catching the ball. Anyways, again, this card is at $5. It doesn't have any creases on it. It does have a slight dimple right there, but that is really the only flaw on the card. Next up, we got Fergie Jenkins, and the Fergie Jenkins card actually isn't too bad miscut. Top to bottom, I'd say 90-10. Left to right is probably going to be 60-40. The back is in good condition, so I have this Fergie Jenkins card listed at $5 on the Fergie Jenkins. Next up is Bob Gibson. I have this card in excellent condition. It is just slowing ever so slightly on the top of the card. It does show a little bit of white. Centering on the left to right is probably 85-15. Top to bottom is, let's say, 95-5 to be generous. The back of the card is just missing the top right there. So I have this Bob Gibson card currently listed at $12. I might actually drop the price a little bit. We will see once we start the auction. But right now I basically, like I said, have it listed at $12. The Bert Blyleven card, and this would be Bert's third-year card. He was a rookie in 1971. This card isn't in too bad a shape. It does have a flaw in the upper left-hand corner. I don't know if I can get that on camera right there. Centering left to right actually isn't too bad. I would call it 70-30. Top to bottom is really good, like a 60-40 or maybe even a 55-45. The back of the card is in decent shape other than the miscut over here on the right side. Anyways, that is the Bert Blyleven card. I do have it currently listed at, let me see here, I think it's $3. Yep, it's $3 on the Bert Blyleven card. Next up, we got a few Billy Williams cards. I think we have 3 Billy Williams cards. This one being the worst of the bunch as far as miscut. None of these cards are going to have any sort of creases on them. It is more of a miscut issue top to bottom. Left to right on any of these cards isn't too bad. But I am selling this one at $1, this one at $2, and this one at $2, and this one at $2.50. You can see the difference between this one and this one. This one is showing a little bit more white on top, and the centering is going to be a little bit better. This one, I wouldn't say it's a crease, but it does have a slight wrinkle there on the right-hand side. This one does not have any significant surface flaws. at all, but I'm never going to say it's perfect by any stretch of the imagination. So I have this one at $2.50 on the Billy Williams card. Next up, we have Mr. Steve Garvey, and this is definitely not one of my favorite cards. This is a Steve Garvey card when you really can't even see Steve Garvey. He is standing there. I think that might be actually Dave Parker. I don't really know. But you can see Steve Garvey coming home, it looks like, and touching home plate, and that is what you see of him. You can see a part of his face, but that is pretty much it. So this Steve Garvey card, I do have it listed at $3 on the card, just basically because it is missing the top of the card. Centering actually isn't too bad left to right. I'd call it 60-40, but again, it is missing the basic top of the card on the Steve Garvey card. Next up, we got Dusty Baker ×2, and both Dusty Bakers are going to be in the same condition. I do have these in very good to excellent condition. It is off center, left to right. Top to bottom isn't too bad on either card, and both of these cards will be listed at $2 a piece for the Dusty Baker card. Next up, we have Joe Morgan. I think we got a couple of samples here. This one is in worse shape than the other one because the centering is off, and you can see there is a slight dimple right there in the upper right-hand corner. You can kind of see it right there. That is the only significant flaw on this card. So I have the Joe Morgan card, this one at $3, and this one's going to be at $5. It does have a slight print mark there on the upper left-hand side, but you can see the border across the top. It is basically a 95-5, let's say, and left to right is going to be 90-10. But the back of the card is in good condition, and that is why I have this card listed at $5 on the Joe Morgan card. Next up is Jim Catfish Hunter. Pretty badly miscut, to be honest with you. Is missing the top of the card, and you can see the top of the next card down below. This card I have listed at $1 on the Jim Catfish Hunter card, just because of how miscut the thing is. Next up, we got Carl Yastrzemski. I do have this card listed at $5. It is a little bit off center, left to right, and also pretty significantly top to bottom. So it is basically going to be a 95-5 on the Yaz card, and it is again listed at $5. The back of the card isn't in too bad a shape, other than again it is missing the top of the card. So that is Carl Yastrzemski. Next up, we got Reggie Jackson. I do have this card listed at $8. I do have it listed in excellent condition, even though it is missing the top of the card. There really isn't any significant surface flaws on the card, and the back is in really good condition. Centering left to right actually isn't too bad, maybe 80-20, but top to bottom, there is, you can see, ever so slight of white on the top. So I gotta call it 95-5, maybe at best, maybe more 98-2. But obviously, Reggie Jackson was a pretty major stud when he was playing, especially for the Yankees. So that is why I am asking $8 for that card. So I am selling these two Yogi Berra cards for $3 each. There isn't any significant creases on the card at all. It is basically a centering issue left to right. As you can see, the right-hand side of the card is basically missing. So that is why I have this card at that price. Not a bad price still for a $3 Yogi Berra card. Lastly tonight, we have Rico Petrocelli. A really nice 73 Rico Petrocelli card. It is probably 45-55 left to right, which is pretty good. Top to bottom, I'd probably call it 70-30. The back is in really nice condition, so I am selling the Rico Petrocelli card for $3. Anyways, guys, that is all I got for you guys tonight. Hopefully you guys will get a chance to bid on these cards and pick them up. Like I said, I am shooting for a goal of putting them out there by Friday night. If I don't get to it tomorrow night, hopefully Friday night, because it is a really busy weekend. Anyways, guys, thanks for checking out this video. Hit that like and subscribe. It would help me out a tremendous amount. I would greatly appreciate it. And be safe and happy collecting.